How's it going, folks? You notice anything different about me outside of my raspy, leprous voice? How about now? How about now? Didn't expect that one, did you, folks? We have probably... Honestly, you probably can barely tell the difference. We've got probably 3 times the lights in this basement now than we had before. Haven't filmed in the basement for a while because we've had a whole bunch of construction going on and these beautiful can lights getting put in because previously, for this entire stretch, there was nothing. It was completely dark and dingy and made me feel like a total recluse. But today, we've got 2 things on the agenda. Number 1, I bought this media shelf. Because in the past, when I was building these media shelves over here by hand, staining by hand, cutting by hand, I had a bunch of people in the comments tell me, oh, you gotta get the Atlantic media shelves. They're on Amazon. They're so good. Oh, Atlantic, composite wood. It's definitely gonna hold up over time. If you said that, you're a normie. This is nice. This looks pretty. But guess what? Now I'm a normie too because I just caved and I got one. We're going to put it up and we're going to see how it compares to the really nice, beautiful handmade ones over there. Because I will be honest with you guys. These took forever. This was like just these 2 here was like a 2.5 day project to get set up. I didn't really feel like doing that again. So if you guys are in that same boat, this thing was like 80 bucks. And what I want to do, the reason that I got it is that over here we're running out of space. For specifically N64 games, we are always running out of space. You can see that's why we have them stacked here. I'm going to need to get 2 more boards just like this and go boom, boom to give us some more N64 shelves. But also over here, we just added Xbox games, original Xbox last month, and we need more space for that. Some of our Xbox 360 shelves get filled up fairly consistently. We need more PS2 space because the S shelf is always overflowing. You've got Spyro, Spider-Man, Sonic, Soul Calibur, Sly Cooper, Sims, Simpsons, Scarface, Scooby-Doo. Too many S's in the PlayStation category. And then the other thing that I want to do today is answer the question, why do I even bother? Why the heck do any of us even bother with this whole resale thing? Because I've had a little bit of a mind frame shift over the last couple of years that I thought would be useful to put into words. But before we can do any of that, we need to figure, like, where the heck is this shelf gonna go is the biggest question. And the answer to that is going to be right here. How are we going to do that? How are we gonna fit that behemoth into this slot? This shelf is going to get consolidated into a couple places. You may notice that over here, a lot of these bins are actually empty. We used to have completely full all of these shelves with these clear bins that would be our like whatnot auction pre-storage. That's why a lot of these are, you can still see labeled like Nintendo handhelds. This is kind of still Nintendo handhelds, it's just broken ones. N64, GameCube. Whenever we would get in large collections, all the stuff that couldn't go onto Amazon would get sorted into these bins so that we could have themed whatnot auctions. Well, we're not really doing that much anymore. So half of what's on these shelves is going to get sorted onto these ones and so that we can actually use this space better. And then the rest of it, all the supplies, the extra chargers and stuff like that is actually going to go over here. Which, by the way, the other thing that you guys may notice is different about this basement is it feels a little bit more open air, a little bit more roomy, a little more spacious. That's because I took down these guys over here, these room dividers that used to be between the game room and over here. I'm still deciding whether I like it. I don't know. These also were on Amazon. They were probably $100. But there's a couple more improvements that's going to be made because I'm going to try. I don't know if this will work. This is a bit of a reseller Bill Nye experiment kind of a moment. Because what I want to do is take these supports. You'll notice that right now there's so much dead space on this dang shelf. There's so much dead space here that I was just wondering if I like took a saw and just chopped these legs in half basically. Could we consolidate these 2 shelves basically and add room for another full shelf that we could put some of those supplies on and have this be kind of the supply hub. Over there is like overflow supplies. And we basically, between this shelf and the old Whatnot shelves over here, can take all of the stuff that was on this guy, disperse it elsewhere in the room, and basically earn a free however many number of shelves of storage for games, because that's what we've been running out of. So I'll keep you guys informed. Oh geez. They don't make tape these days like they used to. How was I just able to barehand that? Oh, yep, this is the preview, folks. This is what it's going to look like when it's done. It's going to give us a whole bunch more space. There is a question of exactly which console games we put over here. But oh geez, I'm gonna need some help on that one. And folks, just like that, we've got a clear shelf. We've got our new polybag shelf down there, some supplies that have been displaced right down here, and a beautiful, very normative Atlantic Media shelf ready to be assembled. So the question of what is this all for? Why are we bothering? Wanted to preface it by saying that everything I'm talking about here came from me watching this video, The Infinite Game, from Simon Sinek. Really smart guy, and has some, believe it or not, pretty decent thoughts on the matter. Basically what he's saying is there are two kinds of games in game theory in the world. There are finite games and there are infinite games. And a lot of business owners think they're playing the wrong one. A finite game has like predefined players and a predefined rule set, and the objective is to win. But an infinite game is one where the players and the rules are not predefined. They're nebulous. They might be subjective. And the objective is to keep playing. So an example of that might be like marriage, right? My wife and I are not trying to win marriage. The objective is to stay married. And the point he makes is that business is the same way. But a lot of business people use language like, like winning or, crushing the competition or whatever. And while, yes, business is competitive, it doesn't fit within that same frame. And I think the reason that it resonated with me so much is that when you decide that your objective in business is to stay in business, is to keep playing the game and growing and making yourself better and making little improvements like this to your business all the time. Honestly, you are so attention hungry, it's disgusting. Almost as much as a full-time YouTuber. It shifts your perspective. In my last Re-NXP sale video, you guys might remember when I was at the convention, the very last scene was me coming out of there with sort of a lackluster bag of inventory, right? I'd spent like maybe $500 that day when I was really hoping to spend like $5,000. And when I was thinking about it like basically in finite game terms, I felt kind of bad about it. I was like, man, this day was kind of a loss. And I didn't achieve my goals. But then my mindset kind of shifted, and I was reminded of watching that video, and I was like, wait a second. Like, if the goal, very long term, a lot of this has to do with just like long-term thinking. If the goal is to stay playing, then that day, even though it was underneath what I had hoped for my goals, it was still a win. Because with that bag of inventory, I could, process it and sell it, flip it, and do business for another day. And it completely changed my mindset. And I just wanted to share that with you guys because I feel like it's really easy to get caught up. Boy, it is so hard to multitask this, dude. I'm not built. Elsie, get your butt out of the shot. Come over here. Good dog. But ultimately for me, I feel like if I would have asked younger Caleb, 23-year-old Caleb just starting out in the resale business, what the primary goal was, he wouldn't have said getting to 1.5 million in sales on Amazon. He would have said, I would just love to spend all my days doing this and not have to go to a job that I hate with, people who couldn't care less about me and, a soul-crushing large corporate infrastructure where I'm just like a cog in the system. And I think that could have been achieved either by starting my own thing or just finding a better, probably smaller business to be a part of. But I think that 23-year-old Caleb would look at where I am now and just be like so happy. When I realize that, it puts things in perspective a little bit more. And I find myself, even on the days that are slower than I feel like they should be, feeling grateful rather than discouraged. So folks, before we screw this bad boy into its permanent home on the wall over there, I wanted to do a little side-by-side comparison and make a few notes on which system I think is actually more optimal between the homemade and the particle board. The first thing, obviously, to think about is the durability. This bad boy, I'm very fragile with it, like very careful. If you lean this the wrong way, if you breathe on it the wrong way, it's probably going to splinter and crack. Like if I pushed this over right now, I'd be very worried that multiple of the planks would just splinter. This bad boy right here, like you could push it down the stairs and it would probably be fine. That said, there are definitely some upsides to this one. It took me only like a couple hours to completely assemble it. It looks pretty sleek. Like for particle board, it doesn't look bad. It'll go in pretty much any game room or resale business really well. It has this backing here that even if it's not on a wall, you can put the games in and they'll go all uniformly to the exact same point. You have that on this one, like with just the wall itself, but on this shelf that I built, it didn't have any backing, and so I had to screw in these planks to the back of it so that I can put the games in and not have to balance them. I just shove them in there and they all go to about the same place. So regardless whether you go homemade or Amazon or store-bought, having some solution of that is really crucial. What I like about this is it's very spatially optimized. You can see here, I engineered about an inch or so of space on top of all of the disc game shelves because I wanted to be able to like grab things from the top. With this system, you kind of still can do that because they actually go out a little bit from the edge of the shelf. So like if I wanted to just grab a couple of Just Dance 4s, or more importantly down here on a shelf that is already pretty full, if I just wanted to grab the F-Zeros, I still can. And the other important thing is there are more dividers in this one that are maybe like a ½ inch wide that allow for, even if there are a couple of full shelves, you can still get your fingers in there and be more likely to grab a handful. Just a little efficiency thing that I always think about. Geez. My whole life just flashed before my eyes. What else do I want to talk about? It's definitely more optimal that these things are only an inch. The planks are only like a ½ inch rather than probably slightly more than an inch with all of these. What are these even called? These like chopped up stakes that I used for the cross beams of our shelves. On the whole, this system also cost probably at least double. This shelf, I want to say, was like $85, which is super cheap. And you might also have the benefit, if you have a bunch of vertical space, you could maybe like buy an extra one of these and do like another layer, because it was constructed basically, this was one half, that was another half. There is one little kind of weird idiosyncrasy with this shelf, which is it has one shelf for CDs. I don't know if that's because like they just had a little extra space to work with, and like that's normally, I think if you construct it correctly, that'll end up being on the top. I think that's how it's supposed to turn out. But as you know, I'm a bear of very little brain, so it ended up kind of awkwardly in the middle here. This is not super bad for us because even though we don't sell many PlayStation 1 games, which would be the obvious thing to put on a disc-based shelf, you can go sideways with NES games and stack them that way, which I think is the most optimal way to do it anyway, because if you have them stacked horizontally like this, then reshuffling them around every time you have another thing to put on the stack is really hard. Going vertical means that like if I have another Double Dragon, I can just slide it right in here rather than reshuffling a stack and things like that. So that's one thing to be aware of. I was really hoping that we could put our Super Nintendo games on this shelf because they really need a new home and a little bit more space. Unfortunately, they do not fit vertically on here, and I wouldn't want to do it horizontally like that. So SNES is going to have to stay over here. We're going to have a strategic conversation about what consoles to move over here. My initial thought was maybe moving Xbox 360 and original Xbox and just having this basically be the Xbox shelf plus maybe like, I don't know, maybe DS and 3DS complete games. We'll have to figure that one out and we'll update you. All right, folks, so the media shelf is up and mounted. We have a whole bunch of space that we're reserving up here for all of our most commonly purchased titles. So on Friday when we do another intake, these will all be full, but we're going to have like, you know, Wii Sports and New Super Mario Bros. U and Resort and, I don't know, Michael Jackson and random stuff up there. And then we just decided over here that this used to be Xbox 360. We're taking off all those games, bumping them over here because now we have a whole bunch of shelf space over there so that they'll be closer to original Xbox and have more room to expand because they were kind of crowded on this shelf. And we are replacing them with GameCube because this little shelf right here will be more space than GameCube used to have. And we buy so many of these titles, but they kind of trickle in. Like, we rarely have people sending us a handful of Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door like they would for, you know, Mario Kart Wii. So I think this will be really strategic. And then we're going to, I think, take the PS3, bump that over here along with 360, and then give PS2 a little bit more room to expand on those bottom shelves, is at least the current game plan. All right, so here's the final solution. Wii has a nice new home over there in between the doors, and over here, GameCube has taken the place of 360 and has much more room to breathe. PS2 got an extra shelf. Wii U is they're a little bit clustered and crowded down there. Then over here we have way more room for 360, a good bit more room for PS3, and I think everyone, pretty much except Wii U, is feeling like they got a really solid upgrade. Next step's going to be figuring out if we can consolidate two of these cheap shelves into one mega shelf. But fortunately, business is an infinite game, folks, so we live to play another day.